Welcome everyone to Grape Finance Weekly AMA. My name is Nikki. I'm here with LB again. Welcome, LB. How are
Hey
you?
everyone, thanks for listening in and joining the AMA.
Yeah. Thank you so much all for being here, as always. Today we don't have a lot of questions, prefab questions, so to speak. But we might have some on the live chat. And of course, as always, if anyone wants to speak on stage, let us know in the live chat and we'll get to it. All right, LB, have you got any news for us before we start off with the questions? Or do you want to do that at the end?
Well, I'll just mention that S Vintage Press, which is not called the S Vintage Press, it's called the Solera, which is a wine aging technique. But that launched yesterday, and
Nice.
seems to have done pretty well so far. I think look at the numbers, almost 900,000 S Vintage is locked in there, which is really cool. I think as it kind of follows the soda press sort of mechanics, where it has an extra bonus for compounding, and then in the reverse a penalty for claiming. So obviously, the strategy would be the optimal strategy. Oh, you can do whatever you want, but the optimal strategy is compound more than you claim, because then you get a boosted APR. But the APR as a base is still like 2%, which is quite a lot. And considering as well, it's using S Vintage, which is already compounding anyway in the cellar of the winemaker. And you probably don't. I probably should make some calculation for the APR for S Vintage. I mean, it kind of varies day to day, obviously, because it's not it's based on people claiming the vintage from the game, and then unstaking and whatnot. So it varies based on activity there, but you can look at the S Vintage, the vintage ratio, which is 7.5 now. And obviously, when we started the game about 2.5 months ago now, I think it was around 1. Obviously, it started around 1. So 7, it's gone to 7.5 times in 2.5 months. So that's a pretty big APR.
Pretty good.
That's a pretty big APR, nice. And that's just you're earning that compounded, and then put that into the Solera. That is where you're earning 2% daily from the beginning as well. It's, in terms of APRs, it's probably something pretty ridiculous, in combination.
So that definitely means you should make it an APY as well.
Yeah. That's true, because it is
to get the really big numbers.
Yeah.
No, great. Thank you so much. And has a lot of grape been burned as well, or was that?
Well, I think see, what we're doing now with the game is I think I mentioned last week that we're making a new sort of game token, which won't have liquidity. It'll just be minted using a variety of tokens and LPs in the ecosystem, and then that token will be used in the game where grape is. Essentially, you'll still use vintage in the game to mint the tools, and then from that, because you'll be able to mint that token using LPs, that LP with grape in it will be split, and then that grape will be sent to a furnace contract where everything will be burnt, and then we can track everything really nicely and easily just from the contract directly, instead of having to track ERC20 transactions on from grape on like 4 different contracts as well, which is can be done, but it's a lot of things to it's resource intensive on the JS side. So we can do it from the contract. We adjust it so that we can read it from the contract nice and easy. Just like we did with
Nice.
the TVL now as well. We made a new Oracle contract, so to say, which keeps track of all the prices of all the LPs and all the tokens, and the TVL of all the pools on the website. So usually before, I mean, we had too many pools for the website to calculate the TVL of the platform, in a reasonable time, and like it always kind of lagged. But now it's just reading one number from a contract directly, which has made it much faster. So it's just a similar idea for the burn to keep track really nice.
All right, so the TVL I see on the site right now, like the 2.27, whatever, that's read from one single contract for ease of reference.
Yeah.
Because cool.
It loads much faster than, because before, in the standard Tomb way, is it like loops through all the pools, gets all the TVL of the pools, and adds them all up, and it does it every time you load the page.
Yeah. I've seen that happening, and then you see on whatever, not necessarily on Grape, but on any of the seniors protocols or any other, you see it loading up, and then you think, hey, has it gone down because the price has gone up, and then there's another ad, right? Because one of the contracts was slow to load. No, that's actually really nice. So it's pretty clear. So does that mean people can also just track easily now how much grape has been burned, and is that displayed anywhere?
No,
Or is it
that's
going
not.
to be displayed anywhere?
Yeah, it will be. It will be. That's
Cool.
when we have this new token, they'll be all put into that, so that they'll be displayed on the site.
Cool stuff. Really nice. This is the kind of backend solutions I think that most investors usually don't think about at first, because it doesn't really affect them directly, but it makes things so much easier to then develop more onto. So I really like these kinds of things that make it smoother, so to speak.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Then we move on to the questions, if you're okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I see the first question was from Taz, but it has already been answered by Sam. So that's all right. And we move on to Need Grape. And Need Grape, the original of all the need people, says, DeFi projects that build, survive, and even flourish beyond this crypto winter stand to carve out big names for themselves in the DeFi space. What do you think Grape's impact on DeFi has been or will be? That's an interesting question. It's zooming out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'd like to think that we've had some sort of impact in the tomb space, at least. We sort of started in January, and I guess back then, even kind of like education and strategy wasn't really a thing for tombs.
No, not at all. And being nice to each other also wasn't.
It
really wasn't.
It wasn't. So I mean, I think we've kind of I don't want to say like we're have kind of I don't want to showboat or anything like that. You know what I mean? But I think that we have some good impact on several things in the tomb space, at least. We education wise, strategy wise, as you mentioned, sort of collaboration in the space. That back then that wasn't really a thing.
No, there was a lot of tribalism going on, and
Yeah.
everyone was holding to their own protocol, and every other protocol was bad. And even if you were in multiple protocols, you didn't really say that, right? It was kind of frowned upon to even mention another protocol in chat, and that was
Yeah.
something that um, back then I personally very actively changed that as a community manager, where I
Yeah.
said, "Oh, hey, man, if in general chat you wish to discuss a certain protocol from your perspective, but not necessarily going on and on and on about it or
Hmm.
shitting it or whatever, but just because you're talking and
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
all working or you're all investing in DeFi, so it's natural that you're also talking about different protocols, and then that really made the tension a little bit less, and I really like that a lot,
Mm.
and on your side. I heard from a lot of people back then that they found it so wonderful that you were helping so many other protocols on the dev side. You
Yeah.
weren't, you would just easily go, oh yeah, sure, I can help out a little, and
Yeah.
and that made things so much easier to talk with other protocols. And I think that we might not have been starting this, or we might not have been the one single pivoting protocol, but
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
definitely helped and did something there. So yeah, I
Yeah.
do think you agree. I mean, I do think I agree with what you said there,
Hmm.
um,
Hmm.
a
Yeah.
lot. Uh,
Yeah. I think.
and I also,
Yeah.
you go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just, I think it's we kind of just did what you know felt was needed at the time, really. You know what I mean? It's just we saw things that we launched, and then we quickly realized things that needed to be adjusted and changed and whatnot. And you know uh, you know
Yeah.
education was one big thing about one big thing of that. And sort of at least talking to other tombs as well, it's like a similar it's a real tight knit group almost. You know what I mean? It's a real niche uh um sector in DeFi, in the Degen DeFi even, which is even more of like a niche. So you know the good
Yeah,
protocols can
definitely.
like stick together.
Yeah, and we definitely should. Also, that's why I just, with your permission, made Chilio a partner. So that means
Yeah,
that we're gonna do some cool stuff together with Celestial,
of course.
which I'm very happy about because I'm also part of that team. But more on that later, right? I'm not gonna spill the beans too fast before we actually have anything. Anyway, moving on. Sam says, is it possible to have a burn feature for Grape on Vinium? If I'm not mistaken, Magic does something similar for their pack token through their auto compounders. Also, does it be like raisins? Because I'd like to take them out of the tape. That's a South Park that's a South Park reference, right?
Is
Raisins.
it?
Yeah,
I know the
yeah.
raisins. Yeah,
Raisins is like the Hooters for kids.
yeah,
It's really fun.
yeah.
Or anyway, so yeah,
Nice.
you got a date proposal. So whether you like raisins, and the auto company, yeah, Magic does that for us as well, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think for Vinium though, I don't know um some sort of way for like a burn feature. Maybe you could have like the some of the revenue be used to buy and burn it. But I'd also like to just give that to wine stakers. And because obviously with the auto compounder, it's kind of a little bit makes a little bit more sense to have it as a some sort of burn feature, because as part of the auto compounding, you literally have to buy the the underlying tokens, and so you can kind of just skim some off from a performance fee and burn that. With Vinium, I guess it's we're going to have Grape as collateral, then obviously we can't have you burning your collateral because that's going to limit how much it's going to affect your health factor. So the only way I could see it there would be using some of the revenue to buy and burn, which may be possible, but we'll have a think.
Right. Cool. Yeah, I'm still looking forward to this thing in the winery, right? And in Tufinium in general. So I'm always like when. But I I do really feel that it needs to be good and well thought through. So don't rush, but hurry. Anyway, anyway, good. Steak and apes. In response to Neat Grape's earlier question, it says, I personally like Neat Grape's question. Would also love to know when it's going to happen, as the APR is so low, it's a sunk investment now. Oh, wait, that is the question about.
I think it's
Wait,
from
that's
last
much
week.
earlier question. Yeah.
Yeah, from Grape
Um.
Meme notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I think I don't want to. I want to do it. I'm gonna move it ahead. I'm gonna do it as soon as possible. That's what
Right. Good.
that's what I'll do. It's going to be more of a priority. I don't know if I can move it to the actual soda press. You know what I mean? Move it to the soda press mechanic into that sort of style. Because if with the soda press itself, obviously it's a different token, and we'd need to then either somehow the DAO gets the extra grape it needs to add to the LP to then add to the grape X grape LP. But I don't know if we have enough loose grape for that. As in the DAO. And then we need to adjust kind of pricing based on values and what people have already claimed and whatnot. Or it would just be the like a soda press for grape mim, in other words. I was thinking of doing the partnering with EMP on the detonator sort of idea. Some people don't like it. Some people like it. People do seem to like the soda press sort of mechanic. And if it's more of a priority, I think we can't really wait for EMP directly. I don't know how long they would take to do it. I mean, it shouldn't. It's like it's not difficult for them to do it, but we're not like next in line, so to say. So I don't know the timeline on that. So I'd like to move the it's like a migration forward or some sort of solution for those nodes. So
Yeah.
I'll work on that.
Yeah. Actually, next question is about that as well. Hey, it's a funny thing. Because you said I don't know how much grape we have in the DAO. I was opening the DAO contract, and I actually can't find it at all. I mean, I see LPs with grape in it, but I don't see any loose grape. Is that correct?
No, I mean in the multi-sig, in the DAO wallet, I don't think we have grape.
Oh, but the treasury then?
Yeah, we
No.
got like
Wait.
3,000 grape in a DAO wallet, just some like loose grape.
Ah,
And about
maybe Debank isn't
30,000
showing it
grapes
right.
in the multi-sig.
Okay.
So we don't have too many grapes, like actual grapes, loose
Nice.
grapes.
Well, that's okay. I mean, I think you can still create something cool
Mhm.
in the end. All right. Then we move on to Dariola, and they just say, "Hey, legends," and the rest of the question is actually what we've already discussed. But I just wanted to
Mhm.
say that they're calling us legends, which is good.
Thanks.
All right. Chenko, need X Grape, is saying, would you mind explaining the technical difficulties to migrate Mim Grape and Grape Walrus to a press type? If it's too complex to move them into presses, could we move to V2 or even 3.3 with a higher tax on the pack? I feel most investors of those nodes are waiting for a solution, but sellers and bad actors are not waiting. Any applied solution would be appreciated by all great believers. So it's kind of the same question again, but in a different way. So what are the technical difficulties
Well,
that
I
you would
mean,
be facing?
they track user balances and sort of user shares, which then relates to the APR that each person gets. They track them differently, obviously. So it's in other words, calculating a fair share to move the nodes into a press style is obviously more difficult than moving the nodes into a V2 nodes. But technically, what people actually want is high APR. That's what you actually want. So I mean, I can technically do that right now in the Grape Mim nodes. Like I can boost APR to I don't know a high, but it would be much higher than it is now. So I mean, I can deliver that right now. But the problem is that there's a reason the APR is low is because there's a balance deficiency compared to the amount of nodes. So that is really kind of the issue there is that what you actually want is high APR. And that's why, people like the soda press and whatnot, because the APR is more stable in that system. But technically I can do that in the nodes in the existing node contract, but it's not a very sustainable system because the APR, if people don't create new nodes, it would generally drop over time, which is technically what's happening in the Grape Mim nodes. So the I mean the what I would like to do is move it to a press because it is a bit more of a better system with a more reliable APR, which people do like, obviously. But obviously, the technical difficulty is getting a good allocation points to share price ratio for a migration because they're not the same thing. Obviously, in the nodes, you have allocation points, and you have based on the number of nodes you have, and then the contract uses the balance to essentially calculate your or you calculate the APR of the overall platform of the overall nodes based on contract balance based on allocation points. So it's and then obviously the drip rate is whatever that we can set. That's the variable that we can set. But with the press, it works a bit differently where you have shares that are minted when you deposit, and the shares are valued based on the contract balance. But the contract balance, but you also have the you also have the fact that depending on where or when you deposit, you get varying numbers of shares. You get less shares, and then more shares are distributed to other people in the pool when you deposit. So people that are deposited earlier actually get more shares the longer that you're in the pool, or more shares over time. So I mean, what I'm getting to is it's a different system, and then calculating a good price that people will like inner migration, because also we have to take into account with nodes that people have. I can't just give you the exact amount that you have initially deposited in shares, because there's going to be a varying number of people that have claimed, 10%, and then people that have claimed 150%, but you deposited the same amount. So in other words, I can't give you the same amount because that wouldn't be fair to the person that's only claimed 10%, and the person that claimed 150% would be getting more share than they really should, in other words, compared to the other guy. So that's really the
technical aspect of
yeah.
it. Yeah. I think is usually when you're explaining such a lot of things, I'll cut you short. But this time I thought, yeah, well, this was the question, man. You wanted to hear all of the technical stuff, so it is. No, thank you so much for explaining it all. I hope the question was answered to satisfaction.
Mm-hmm.
All
But
right,
yeah,
we're moving on.
well, that's as I said before, we'll look at this as a more of a priority to because I want to resolve it. I want to kind of fix it and be able to move forward from there.
All right. Yeah, clear and good. Then we move on to the AMA live questions. Apparently, Neat Grape feels like Hello Player had a question. All right, then.
We're getting
Okay,
a
moving
tool
on.
though. The tool's coming. His question is answered. New tool.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Early this week
That's good.
or next week, technically.
Okay. Well, I'm happy it was. Cholio says whether you've considered using Covalent or Covalent, because that's what he uses to track his burns and or our burns actually, and it is Lightning. It's all API and no API based.
Yeah,
I think you know what that means.
yeah, I've used Covalent before. It's like a Web3 API. It's a, like indexer of chains to get data from the chain. It's pretty cool. I like it. I don't know how many contracts you're tracking. I guess maybe just like the token itself and the like you send it to the burn address, or you're burning it on the actual burn function in the token. Yeah, the burn function. Yeah, makes sense. The problem with I think on the in the game, it's a little bit weird because it uses the burn function on two contracts. Because in the game we have skills which use grape. They burn grape using the burn function, and then we have the recharge, and then we have it's called the tool mint, and there's one other one, I've forgotten now. And the tool mint uses vintage as well, and that one doesn't actually use the burn function. It just sends the tokens to the burn address itself. But nonetheless, what we're going to be doing anyway is switching to Raisin token for the game in the place of Grape. And so Raisin token has a burn tracker in the contract anyway.
Yeah, you explained that at the beginning of the AMA, right?
Yeah, and then also have another contract for Grape to be burnt in it directly as well. That also tracks it. Nice. So we're probably just going to track it from the contract, because it's just like one what's it called, one read from the contract.
Yeah, and that means that you are going to have reasons, so you're going to go on a date with Sam. All right. Moving on to Nick Grape asking, how is the Vinium development going? Sounds like a massive project to be working on, especially with so many things happening in Grape. And also almost 1 million as vintage deposited in the first 24 hours. Yeah, we discussed that already. Wow. But how's the Vinium development going? And it
Yeah,
does sound like a massive project.
it
And this
is.
is a question close to my heart,
Well,
of course. Where are we? When Vinium?
it is deployed on mainnet. We just need to verify a couple contracts and then just fill in the UI integration, really. And then it's ready to go. I mean, they've already deployed on the mainnet, and I think we just need to. Right now, it's just deployed with two tokens, SAVAX and AVAX, and then we just need to add in the rest of the tokens that we're going to start with, which is basically just going to be, that's easy anyway, but it's just going to be stable coins and Bitcoin, ETH, and then Grape. Obviously, we have Oracle for that as well, and Oracle for SAVAX as well, because it's technically using AVAX, but then the
Staked.
the ratio as well. And we have an Oracle for Xgrape as well now, so we can implement that pretty soon. And we also have I think it was mentioned last week, the Xgrape seller, essentially. The where you have Xgrape and then you want to sell it to not just the Magic Vault tokens, but say directly even to Grape or directly to MIM or the LP token itself. We have a Zap for that. That should be integrated into the Xgrape UI very soon, probably tomorrow. And that's also going to help with. I mean, I kind of wanted that so that we can have it for Vinium as well. You know, say in the case of liquidations, we can do it through the Zap instead of having to sell Xgrape for Grape using the LP and then for MIM, because you would get technically a better price zapping out directly through the Zapper. So that as well is coming along. So there's a lot of little things, you know what I mean? There's so many like little things that kind of add up and kind of delay things, and you need to double check. But really,
I can assume it's.
the main thing is the
Yeah.
UI integration now, because it is on mainnet already, and that shouldn't take too long at all. And I mean, as well, Vinium as a large scope, I've been thinking more so about that very recently, and we're starting with the Aave sort of system, but there's a lot of things that we're going to be building on top of it, on top of with that, and I do need to nail down that scope as well, so it doesn't get too ridiculous, and actually focus on the core features that we're going to have. So that's something as well I'm working on, but obviously leverage yield farming is going to be a big one, and NFT lending is going to be the phase following that, because I think there's a lot of potential for that in the next sort of several years of crypto. I think we'll have a lot more financial NFTs come out that are pretty prime for being used as collateral for lending. So that's something I definitely want to. That's like a core feature we're going to be
Definitely is.
implementing.
It's I'm really looking forward to how that's gonna turn out, because it's it's a bit mind-boggling for me to have NFTs and then, well, you've already explained it in a different AMA where the difficulties lie, and I really wonder how that's going to be solved. Just looking forward to that is what I'm saying. The other the other thing that I was thinking, when you have something like Vinium, like there should be a decent amount of money that actually could be borrowed, right?
Yeah.
How's that going on, or is there an invite to that, or how is that going to be incentivized for people to just put their stables there, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, well, initially we're starting slow. You know what I mean? Obviously, we'll seed a decent amount of liquidity in the beginning as well. And the idea is to have strategies built onto it so that we can, attract capital without having to do token incentives. Obviously, we're going to be having the Vini token of the platform, which is the number one kind of incentive machine, so to say, is token emissions. But obviously, it's the downfall of that is the fact that you're having it's through inflation. In other words, so we want to obviously build out a product that's actually going to be used even without token incentives. That's kind of a big thing. So there's a lot of strategies that can be built on is essentially the Aave platform even in the beginning that encourage lenders and borrowers, because the borrowers are just as important as the lenders, because that's essentially where the revenue is going to come from, to run strategies such as arbitrage between rates of Vinium, Aave, Benki, looping strategies of those as well. And we're going to have SAVAX as one of our collaterals, so that you can kind of loop in and play essentially a rate arbitrage or a leverage position through the other platforms as well. And then we're going to offer some other sort of more exotic collaterals that other platforms don't offer, such as GLP is one I'm definitely looking at implementing. It's very popular from GMX, obviously. And that's kind of like a perfect collateral as well, because it's made from primarily blue chip tokens, and it's yielding as well. And so that's like perfect for offering as collateral, because you can technically use that to leverage up, or the same as any other token. Really, you can use it to access funds without selling, and then use those funds for whatever you need to. So
Yeah.
In other words, there's also something pretty cool that we're working on with a new protocol that launched not too long ago.
Even more coming up.
Yeah, we're going to try it with Grape first. Pretty soon, actually, very soon. And it is like a financial NFT. And they also have, it's like we can implement a similar idea for Vinium borrowers to reward borrowers, in other words, without inflation. So that's something as well we'll implement, but more details on that soon. That's don't want to give too much away.
Sounds really good. Sounds really interesting. Definitely. Okay. I mean, yeah, it does actually. I'm really looking forward to it, but I noticed that yeah, it's coming, so I'm not going to ask on. Not going to pressure
That will
you on me
become.
for
It may
questions.
maybe even next week we may
Cool.
implement that with Grape initially in the LPs.
Cool stuff. All right. Then we There's a lot of people actually right now. Peter Flea is very happy that he actually made it this time. Welcome, man. Definitely. And also see Lady Bossnat. I just made you OG Lady Bossnat because you deserve it. And Chelia, of course, is here, and Steve is here as well. So many cool people. Neat
Nice.
Grape.
Thanks for listening
Just
in.
wanted to, yeah, just wanted to shout out to many. And I'm sorry if I missed a few because I'm keeping an eye on the live chat, so I don't always see who's actually in the on the stage. But I just wanted to say that I really like it that we have such a community that's always
Mm,
trying to be there, right? That's
yeah,
beautiful. All right,
definitely. Even though
moving
we kind
on
of like
to.
moved it back
Oh, sorry.
a time, because we went forward an hour in Australia.
Yeah.
Um, and so I don't think anyone else has changed their times yet. So
No,
in other
you
words,
did
we
you dip, do things differently down under.
that's true.
Putting on your shorts in winter, you're weird guys.
Yeah.
All right. um, question. Let's see. Oh, right. Nick Grape wants to know if do you have any alpha on the winemaker magazine buffs coming up?
Yeah. Um, we will essentially we're basically going to buff the vintage per minute you get from it. The thing with the game and the tools there, it's that when we reset, I can see that all right, there's 153 tools. I mean magazines minted. Um, and then when we essentially when we boost the because I'm going to boost the multiplier of the magazine. Um, I don't know the exact number yet, but it's going to be more than one, obviously. And the price won't change, but we will have, instead of grape, raisin being the token, and then vintage will stay the same for the tools. So I can see, 153 magazines minted, and when we reset it to adjust the multi, it will reset that total supply displayed as well. So we're probably going to keep it at 500 total. So whatever it is at when I buff it, I'm going to adjust. So you'll probably see the total supply be less than 500 when I adjust it, but it will actually be 500 just on this UI here. It'll be less, but I think there's probably a way to maybe do that nicer. But anyway, the idea is the multiplier is going to be adjusted, and the price will stay relatively the same. So there'll be more incentive to pick them up, even though it's a tier one. And then the new tool, which is coming out, it's ready to go. It's not added into the contract yet, so you can't you can't mint it just yet. But it's going to have a slightly better multi than the hydrometer. Very slight, not too much. We don't want to give too much. And very limited supply. Very, very limited. Probably
All right.
around 75. So I'm going to
Right.
let everybody know when it's going to launch so you have time to prepare. But they'll probably
To
mint
get
out.
ready.
They'll mint out fast. But that's the idea. Like
Yeah.
what we're going to do is have more sort of rare tools that come out. This is a tool that we've technically already had for a little while, but we wanted to mint out the other tools to kind of, have there be a reason for a new tool. In other words, and then this is, having sort of rarer tools is something that we're going to continue to do. Essentially, all the newer tools are going to be more rare tools, very limited run, probably all under 100 total. And then we'll work with some protocols as well to have some like really cool partner tools. I think would be something that we're going to be doing as well. So yeah, couple of things there.
Yeah, definitely. So I hope that's enough alpha for Need Grape. Who also wants to shout out for suggesting he needs to be Need Grape a few Mays ago, beginning the Need Cascade that has followed and went Need channel. I find that funny. Right. Maybe we'll have a Need channel, but we already have so many cool channels. So you gotta you gotta keep this a bit special. All right. Right function, that burn that raisin, baby. Let's see. What is an actual Australian with LB, though he's on his own time zone. You're on your own time zone, LB. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Negrave wants to know, will there be benefits for early Vinium users? I recall reading somewhere that Vini tokens were allocated for lenders, borrowers.
Mm-hmm.
So does it make it better if you're early?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the question.
Yeah. So there will be an airdrop portion. We will airdrop portion of that token when it launches. We're probably going to launch the token when we at least deploy on a new chain. So it'll be more of like a, so we can have incentives on multiple chains. Is kind of the idea, but
And what do you need to do to be in the airdrop then?
you have to use the platform. That's the
Oh,
idea. Yeah. So
yeah.
early users, will be rewarded for that.
Mhm,
If you lend and borrow, that's a
mhm,
greater incentive. You'll be rewarded greater for that because you're you know um, also supplying. Borrowers are very important. In other words, lenders obviously supply the capital that can be borrowed is very important. Obviously, without lenders, there's no platform. But without the
mhm.
borrowers, there's no real purpose of the platform either. So the if you do both, um, you're in the best position for an airdrop reward. But basically, if you just use the platform, um, and not just like spam use it with like 20 cents, you know what I mean? Um, you know, you'll be
Really is it?
rewarded. Yeah.
Right. But if you use it for lending as well as borrowing, will that even be profitable? Because usually when you're borrowing, you pay a little bit of a higher fee
Hmm.
because you're borrowing than what you get when you're lending out, right?
Yeah.
So if you do
Usually,
both,
I mean,
you're
it
actually
depends what, like, obviously if you're doing the same token,
yeah,
it's usually,
that
I
makes
mean, it
sense.
is higher. Um, but if you do say, you use Grape as collateral, then you borrow USDC or whatever, or
Hmm.
any of the other tokens, it would the USDC pool is going to have a different uh, supply and borrow APR than Grape's supply APR. So there are plays we can do like a rate arbitrage between Vinium and even Aave or Benki.
Mm.
It's like a common strategy for numerous. These are lending platforms in general. A lot of people do that. It's kind of a pain. Not many people do it because it is kind of like you have to go. There's a few steps involved. So one of the things we're looking to do is kind of like automate that. And similar idea to like leveraging positions, especially whether we're going to have SAVAX and AVAX. You can do
Mhm.
an interesting thing where you borrow AVAX, then
Against
stake
your
it in.
SAFX.
Yeah. You can like
Yeah,
loop
yeah,
those in together. You know what I mean? So there's there's strategies like that that you can do where you are borrowing essentially, but you are profitable and just
Right.
taking the the rates, in other words.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Right. I just wanted to put that question there to not just for
Yeah,
myself, but also just for everyone.
yeah.
So
I
the
mean,
thing is, you would be borrowing the one token, you would be lending the other, and sometimes you would be borrowing to buy something that you can then be lending out again, right? That
yeah, yeah,
or put up as collateral again, so that you'd
yeah.
be leveraging.
But there's
Um,
other there's this is something that we need to work on, is kind of like making these strategies more clear, I guess, and more easy to understand, because you can even just do things like you know uh, supplying USDC or something, and then borrowing Bitcoin, and then selling the Bitcoin, and then technically you are short Bitcoin, and then technically you could supply that back in, borrow more Bitcoin, sell the Bitcoin again, and then you're technically leveraged position, and then
yeah, yeah,
so it's more of a
you're an
risk,
even
obviously,
bigger
but
short.
yeah, but it's
Yeah, yeah,
there's a lot of things, there's a lot of cool things that you can do with an Aave type system, just like straight up, not just that go beyond just the standard. You know, I'm gonna lend this and then borrow, to get capital, uh, to then go yield farm or something with that. You know what I mean? Rather than selling my tokens. That's kind of like the base thing that you can do. But there's a lot of like cool things that you can do that you can kind of just basically just capture the yield from this platform and the other platforms as well. So something that we'll work on to kind of make easy to understand and perform.
yeah. And to get back to what the actual question was, yes, if you do that early as possible, you make
Mm,
yourself eligible for an airdrop. All
yeah.
right. We move on to Dan. The man is very happy with financial NFTs, and neat, yay. Neat Grape asks, like, do you have any alpha for how revenue will be allocated between Vinny and Wine? But I kind of wonder with this question whether it should be answered because alpha on how it will be allocated. These are the details that you get when it's actually there, right?
hmm
Or
Yeah,
do
yeah.
you want to say something about it?
The token side is not complete yet. The working isn't
Mhm.
complete. Initially, it's going to be, wine will be essentially, because there will be no Vinny token, wine will be the revenue share token, and then a portion will go to the treasury, obviously, as a reserve and as an insurance fund too. Um, so there'll be uh, uh, at least in the beginning, all of it's going to go to wine, and then obviously to to the DAO. But then once we launch the token, um, there'll be uh, a non-decided amount, a non-decided split. I'm not sure exactly right this second what we will do between those two tokens, because the token details aren't really finalized yet, and the emission structure isn't finalized yet. Which chains we're going to go on isn't kind of finalized, or the structure of which chains we're going to go on. I mean, what we're probably going to do is we're going to launch on we're going to deploy on ZK Sync testnet. Their mainnet um, doesn't launch for a little while. It
All right.
technically launches end of this month, but it's like a closed launch that only their dev team has access to. And then they have another period of say a month or two where other protocols can launch on mainnet, but no one can use the protocols yet. It's kind of like a closed public launch on mainnet, and
Take a
then
look at it. from
Yeah,
behind the
you
gates.
can look at it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, and then a month after that or so, they'll launch it for actual public use.
Mm.
So I mean, we do want to go on ZK Sync because then we can kind of like be a almost like we can get in one of the beginning stages of that chain or the
Yeah.
L2.
Can, can you
And I
tell us
think yeah.
I was thinking, can you tell us in a minute or two what ZK Sync is about? Like,
Oh yeah.
does it have sharding or what, how does it work? Like a proof of stake or whatever?
Yeah, it's essentially just a layer 2 on Ethereum.
All right.
Similar to so it's not really like it's not like its own chain, so to say, like AVAX or or or
Hmm.
BSC. It is a layer 2 on Ethereum. So that means it does inherit Ethereum's security, and Ethereum is
Yeah.
I mean you definitely say Ethereum is the most
Pretty
secure.
secure.
Um, yeah, it's the most secure chain, probably apart from Bitcoin. But in other words, obviously you have Optimism and Arbitrum, which are the other two main layer 2s on Ethereum. And obviously, if you ever used Ethereum, at least even in recent times, it hasn't been too bad, but it's still a few dollars, $5, $10 sometimes to use, to make a swap or make a transaction or something like that. And on the layer 2s, the idea really is for it to be much cheaper, and it is. I mean, Optimism and Arbitrum have had a lot of growth. They've been pretty a lot of good innovation and a lot of good protocols have launched on there. And ZK Sync is I don't think any different. I mean, I think I just saw today Uniswap um, is already going to be launching on ZK Sync too. You already have Curve
Okay.
there. So you have
The big boys.
the big boys. Yeah, exactly.
The big boys are
So
there.
it's going to be
Uh,
a big chain, I
mm,
think. So it'd be good um, for
to
us
be a part of
to
that.
launch it. Obviously, we're obviously going to still be on AVAX, and we're still going to launch all the platforms on AVAX too. The leverage yield farm, the NFT lending. I think NFT lending is going to
Yeah.
be big on AVAX because there's not really anything like it on AVAX. And there's actually a lot of NFTs on AVAX. It's a pretty big NFT crowd on AVAX. As you probably saw this week, OpenSea launched on AVAX. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
eh,
this should exist, and
yeah.
yeah, and therefore it's really cool that it's gonna be existing. Choyo says
Yeah.
OpenSea boo.
Well, I agree. I agree. I'm just saying, like, they are the big
It's big
boys.
though.
They're the big guys.
Yeah, they
And
are.
if they launch on a chain, it kind of means, the NFT market on that chain is big enough for them to be for it to be worth them to even kind of launch on that chain.
To even bother. Like,
Exactly.
oh, you're that big. Okay, all right, we'll do something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So
Um, Knee Grape wants to know a lot. He also wants to know who the lucky partner protocol the tool is in collab with, but I think you're playing that close to the chest a bit more, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, no. This tool is an in-house tool because we technically already had
Ah,
it launched. So, but I'm saying like the next sort of tools that we're launching from now on is very limited run tools that will be a mix of like in-house tools and partner tools. So, because you know, something that we learned from these tools is that it kind of makes sense. It's a bit more exciting as well to have you know smaller run tools that people can collect as well. I think it's pretty cool.
right. Then we've come to the point where I would like to ask: is there anyone who wants to be on stage? I know Chilio said he might want to be on the stage at the end. I'm looking at the AMA live chat, so if you're saying anything anywhere else, I'm not seeing it. And Steve says, "LB, I need a hint." I don't know what that is about. Um, but right now, I'll just leave the chat open for a bit. If anyone says me with an exclamation mark, I'm gonna invite them on the stage. Um, I don't really see anything. So while people are deciding whether they want to speak, maybe do you have anything that hasn't been discussed yet that you would like to say and end this AMA with?
um,
Are you good?
well, I don't want to give too much. I think I even said probably too much today.
You said a lot.
I
There
said a
was a
lot.
lot of alpha right
Oh.
somewhere in this in this AMA. It was in between a lot of things, but I think the people who've been listening very well have heard a lot of alpha. So yeah, you
Yeah,
have.
yeah, we covered a lot of things, a lot of different things.
Hmm.
And I don't want to give too much away, but I think there's we have a lot of cool things coming up, and I'm pretty excited for to kind of you know get to get to the back end of the year and kind of you know even roll around to the beginning of next year and kind of hit the 1 year mark and you know be around have launched a reasonable amount of things by then as
Yeah.
well, which we already have. I'm surprised about how many things we kind of just like um, punched out. To be honest, that's kind of a lot. And
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, you're saying it's a reasonable amount, but I don't know by what reason, because this is an impressive amount. It's not a reasonable amount, it's much more than that. But I love that you're always a bit modest about that. I mean that yeah, that's actually a very nice quality. Um, so yeah, and
well,
I'm
it's not
also
enough. There's
uh,
there's more coming.
yeah. More should be coming. Thing is, though, I'm also looking, of course, and this has been discussed in previous AMAs, right? Looking at the end of
Hmm.
the bootstrap phase, like at the
Yeah,
end of wine being handed out,
yeah.
and um, like we've seen other senior protocols come to that stage. For example, Tomb Finance
Hmm.
has come to that stage, and how they have dealt with it.
Hmm.
Um, and I personally feel that they have dealt with it much too late and too little.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
they've done some things to step away from the seniorage, but they've been I think they've been a bit complacent in as in, well,
Hmm.
our seniorage aspect works, right? Why should we
Yeah.
invent anything? um, but at the same time, Grape Finance and you in particular have been very, very innovative, and so I think there's actually a lot more to say for us getting well and good past that whole bootstrap phase
Hmm.
than any other of the ones that launched in our time span, that
Hmm.
like around the end of last year, the beginning of
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, new ones like Celestial might also do this in a good way, but we've just rediscovered our own bootstrap phase.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah, it's
uh,
good. I mean, you guys kind of revamped the whole thing. Um, it's far
yeah,
from a fork, which is really nice to see. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and
I've learned that.
you guys are fresh as well, so that you can you have time to kind of build out a bunch of stuff now, which is really cool.
Yeah, and we've definitely been learning all the time, of course, from what's already there, which includes Grape, and I'm really looking forward to developing that and making new cool stuff together with
Yeah,
Chilio and Fizzle and
yeah.
Sam, who's also in the team.
Hmm.
Um, so and So I really like that. But that's us, and we'll definitely celebrate our announced partnership with Grape in some way soon.
Yeah.
But not yet. Not yet. Soon though. Soon.
Well,
As
I'm
as
still
operator usually says,
yeah.
soon trademark. Just say
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the Chanko wants to know whether you're a clone or a bot.
uh, it'd be
I
nice to
think
have
it's
a clone or a bot.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, then you could just, when you're going to sleep, your clone can just start up and move
Yeah,
on, right?
yeah,
That would be
that'd be
easy.
nice.
That'd be nice. It's a lot much less work.
Yeah,
Maybe you can
one day.
upload yourself. Yeah, maybe you can upload yourself to one of those Tesla Optimus bots when they come out.
Yeah,
Have one sitting behind the computer screen like that.
yeah.
All right. I think I'm going to end the AMA here, as we are.
Yeah,
You've
no
said all you
worries.
wanted to say, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, covered quite a bit. Covered all aspects, really. Yeah. So,
Right.
yeah. Stay
Yeah,
tuned.
I don't really have anything to add, except, of course, as always, to thank the community for being here to
Yeah.
put all the questions here and to just in general be a nice and friendly community with a lot of humor. Even in this bear market where things are
Yeah.
difficult, we still, keep our spirits up, and that's really great. That just
Yeah.
makes it much more than an investment. It makes it a good place to be, and
Hmm.
yeah, that's lovely. And
Yeah, it is.
well,
Yeah, we have a great community.
we really do. And thank you so much all for listening. And while the discussion is ongoing on whether you're a clone or not, I'm gonna end this AMA. Oh wait, I have to get to the right place. Here I can end it. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all. Bye bye. See you
Thanks,
next
everyone.
time.